Hello, everyone. My name is Avion Howard, and I am a self-improvement content creator and mental health advocate with a bachelor's in psychology. And I'm also a blog writer for Evolve Here, and I cover student mental health and productivity. You can find me and more of my work on Instagram at deluxe_evolution. And I'm your host today for another episode in the series, A Day in the Life of a Grad, where we explore the lives of various students from all types of different backgrounds to dive deep into their perspectives as well as their experiences. For those who might not have heard of Evolve Here, this is a mental health program that is helping students improve their mental, physical, and emotional health by creating resources that supports their overall well-being and desired life direction. And today we have a special guest with some impressive feats that we'll get into in a second, Kelsey Wu. Now, it's great to meet you, Kelsey, and have you on with us. Now, feel free to introduce yourself, a bit about your background, who you are, what you do, and we'll get started.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Kelsey Wu. And first and foremost, you guys might know me because I've worked very closely with the people at Evolve Here on past projects, such as interviewing or doing a whole kind of segment that we did for boys' mental health. But I'm proud to be back. I'm the founder of the international youth organization called For You International. And basically, it's a nonprofit that I made to really raise awareness about the eating disorder prevention. But more than that, start making tangible results, which is why most of the work that we do involves legislative work to really combat mental health issues and bring eating disorder awareness through legislative bodies and into our public lives. A little bit more about me is I'm also a recent graduate of high school, and I'm going to be attending Barnard College of Columbia University this coming fall.
Right, and that's a good place where I'd like to start is like the school experience. So I want to ask you more about how your recent school experience was in high school. So how was that experience for you?
Yeah, so I think I would really describe like maybe my high school experience as a very overpowering experience because it's kind of where I really first started learning about mental health and what that really meant to me. Uh, Beginning of my freshman year, I realized that I probably was having one of I was going through an eating disorder, and it kind of started through what people would call just like a normal, oh, I'm going to go on a diet, I'm going to try to lose weight. But really, it spiraled into something that was really out of control and something that I couldn't take over of. And that's when I really started to learn about mental health, specifically eating disorders. And that's also where I became really involved with the eating disorder prevention movement. And that's when I started really thinking that I could do something for my community to make a difference regarding this global public health crisis.
Interesting. And is that your prime motivation for starting your organization For You? Was your personal experience?
Yeah, it definitely was. But not only my personal experience, but also what really motivated me was the lack of awareness my community and my peers had about how prevalent this issue was in our generation.
Yeah, because I've recently started getting into mental health as well. And one of the topics that come up a lot is binge eating. And I was surprised myself when I was reading your paper that you created. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I didn't know that that was such a prevalent topic, especially among younger individuals.
Mhm.
That's good. That's very inspirational that you guys are starting that organization.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that for eating disorders, a lot of people think like the target audience is just young women, but really eating disorders affect people of all different backgrounds, races, genders, sexualities, and that's something that my paper, the one that I worked with Professor Nagata on, was what we really tried to stress too, is that eating disorder is a very diverse disorder, even though that our media really only covers women's issues with it.
Yeah. So was this one of the challenges that you had to overcome during your time in high school? Or what is like a big challenge that you went through in high school? How did you overcome?
I would say like in high school, one of the challenges was definitely going through my eating disorder, but I would also say another challenge would probably be going through like the academic and like academic stress that a lot of high schoolers, especially nowadays, have, especially amongst the pressure nowadays to get into really good school. I definitely had my fair share of anxiety over that and feelings of overwhelmness and feelings of just really complete loss of how I was struggling to, juggle all these things, but also trying to tell myself that like being in such a competitive atmosphere, still trying to believe that I am worthy of able to go to a good school. I think that was something that I and a lot of high schoolers can relate to right now.
Interesting. And you talked about that feeling worthy of going to that good school. How do you think, like, let's say other students that were in your shoes that want to get to that point where you're at, how do you think that they can instill that feeling of self-worth in them?
Yeah. To be honest, I'm still going through that same thing myself, still trying to, even like out of high school, I'm still trying to kind of overcome that imposter syndrome and to really tell myself that, I'm worthy of going to some big schools or I'm worthy of achieving my dreams. I would say one thing that really helped me was to really think of the process as that something that I'm working towards, rather than feeling like, oh, I need to get into this specific university. Instead, start thinking about the steps that you need to take to do for it, and to also know that like everyone around you may be on their own road, but you yourself are a very key piece and you are equal to everyone amongst you, and that gives you like a right to be and the right to be a competitor, a right to believe in yourself. So I think that is something that I'm myself am really working towards and something that I hope one day I can fully 100% be. But that I think would be my biggest advice to other people.
That's very powerful that you're acknowledging that this is a process currently still going through it right now. And this is how
Yeah.
it's for me, this is how it's affected my life. And you talked about how everybody has their own unique path, also very true. But discussing more about your unique path, what was it like to juggle schoolwork, with starting the business, with publishing this piece at such a young age? How did you do all of this?
Yeah, so going into high school, I didn't actually have like any of this in mind. I totally did not think like I would be starting my own nonprofit. I would be publishing a paper, that I would be doing interviews with Evolvera. I didn't know any of this would happen, but I think along the way, I just found these opportunities and I was graced to like be around people that believed in me and who gave me these opportunities. And I think like one of the best things that I did for myself was, one, I didn't say no, and two, I wasn't afraid to ask. So if there was a project that I really wanted to be a part of, say for example, testifying before California State Assembly and Senate, like usually you wouldn't think that like a high schooler, a 16, 15-year-old would be able to do that, but I was able to do that because I took my own initiative and I didn't believe that I believed that 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds had a voice that had to be heard. So I asked, and um thankfully people who had the power gave me a voice to be heard. And I think because of that, and because I had that belief, and because I was surrounded by the right people, I think that is how like my journey of being able to do all these great things occurred. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Understanding a problem is listening to the source of the problem and figure out like who's dealing with it right then and there.
Yeah.
So, do you think that personal drive that you've had was like a big contributor to your success in endeavors, or were there other factors involved?
I do think personal drive was a really big thing. I also would not be lying and saying that one of the things I kind of regret was I do think I was really influenced by other people. Again, going back to like that whole mental health thing and having to deal with like that competitive stress that you're sometimes in high school. I would say that like fear really motivated me a lot sometimes to kind of push myself in ways that kind of was really detrimental, I think, to my mental health. But um, I just want to say there's two ways to kind of answer your question. One, I would say yes, I was really personally motivated. I had a lot of passion for the things that I wanted to do. And I was also, like I said before, really surrounded by great people that gave me a lot of amazing opportunities. But I also have to say that the negative side of like being, I think in high school nowadays for high schoolers, there's just so much competitive stress around you. And it would be a lie to say that the people you are surrounded by and the way that you kind of trap yourself in that competitive atmosphere can really motivate you sometimes to push yourself to limits that may be really bad.
Yeah, I can understand that. So how do you feel like other students like yourself could like improve that feeling of motivation or improve the internal motivation to do these kind of things or to go for whatever it is they want to go for in life?
Yeah. Um, I myself am still very much trying to see how I can do that because I do think like much of high school I was kind of negatively motivated and fear kind of being that was like the biggest activator for me. So what I'm thinking right now is like my own journey, but one of the kind of things that I want to do moving forward is instead of like setting big goals for myself, say for example, I want to get into XX school. Instead of saying like I want to get into XX school, I want to envision like, okay, what would a student from that school do? Wait, what are their characteristics? Oh, they're probably very hardworking. They probably have a really big passion. They probably have like a story about themselves. They probably have done a lot of things. So instead of like thinking about I want to get into that school, I start thinking, okay, how can I be more organized, or how can I, push myself harder in this type of class? How can I show out myself in my motivations and passions? Instead of having goals, I have like processes. Say like a goal is I want to be a runner. Well, instead of my goal being, oh, I want to be a runner, I can think about the process of what a runner does. So they have like, oh, they wake up every morning and they just jog for 20 minutes. So like instead of thinking of a certain goal, I think of processes instead. And I think one thing I really regretted with not doing in high school was not enjoying the process because when you strive for something, like especially getting into a prestigious university, a lot of people, like take on all these AP classes and stuff. But I think if you do it in a way where you don't think about the end goal, but you think about the processes instead and what the characteristics of that person is, you can find yourself enjoying the journey and not having to wait for happiness. Because I think I did this a lot too in high school. I was like, oh, once I get into an Ivy League, I'll be happy. But I don't think that's like the way we should live life. I think we should definitely be happy in the process of working towards what we want.
Yeah, understanding those different pieces that you have to put together to get to the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of advice that you would have given your younger self? Could you have done that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely what I would give to my younger self, but also something I'm going to really try to enforce in college as well.
Okay. Well, yeah, speaking about college, well, how do you feel about your upcoming first year of college?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Mostly I'm excited mainly because I'm going to New York City. So I'm gonna be I actually live in LA right now, so I'm gonna be living like across the country. And I'm really excited to just be in that vibrant community, to be around New York City people, to explore the city. But also mainly I think what I'm most excited about is to be kind of like that person that I was describing, enjoying the process and learning train myself to be happy in the moment. I think that's what I really want to work towards. And I feel like if I can do that, I really will be like a new person.
Yeah, and moving to New York from LA like a pretty far away. Have you
Yeah.
always been in LA? Have you always lived there?
Yeah, I have.
Or how does it feel? Have you ever been and you've never been to New York? I'm assuming, maybe.
I had been when I was like little, but no, after that, no. So I don't really remember anything.
Well, what do you expect New York to be like when you move over there?
Mm. Well, specifically, I think New York, one of the things I'm most excited about is I get to meet like one like be so close to a city that has so many opportunities. One of the things that like I aspire to really do in college is work towards law school. And I think one of those best opportunities in New York City has so many opportunities for that. And I also think that like growing up kind of like in the suburbs and like kind of going the same road every day to school and back, I'm really excited to be like in a place where everything is so different and you get to see and do a lot of fun things and meet new people. Specifically also because I'm going to Columbia. I'm also like as I said before, kind of in high school, like Ivy schools were really like the number one thing that I always strived for. And then I want to like experience that, I guess, the thing that I've been working towards for 4 years. But also I want to find that place, or I want to make that a place where I could really enjoy myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what you look forward to most as you start this new chapter in your lifetime, is experiencing that different reality, basically.
Yeah, and also working towards like the person that I want to be, which is um really, I would guess like if I really want to describe it in a really condensed version, I think like someone who is able to work towards something and still be like content and happy at the same time.
That's interesting. And then I want to revisit your work during the paper. To,
Mm-hmm.
so, what was that process like of being a part of the paper? Like, what was your role in the paper itself?
Yeah, so I worked as so previous to the paper, I worked as like a research assistant at the UCSF Medical School under Professor Nagata, who had his own lab. So I worked for a year with him and his team of medical students on drafting kind of like literature analysis of different kind of phenomenons we were seeing in one pediatrics health and also eating disorder awareness health. So going into the paper, I kind of first talked to my Professor Nagata, and I told him like I wanted to really work towards like a paper over the summer. Like I specifically told him I really want to write a research paper, and he said that he was going to write a paper looking at how adverse childhood experiences called ACEs, how those can affect people's mental health, specifically looking at eating disorders, specifically looking at binge eating disorder over a period of time. So my role really in that was doing the literature analysis. I scourged kind of the internet using Google Scholar and PubMed, and I pulled up every article I could and I summarized basically anything that had to do with ACEs and anything that had to do with like looking at adverse childhood experiences and how that affected binge eating disorder. What the other people, what they did is, so we combined like my literature analysis, which was looking at what all the other researchers were saying, and then we supplemented that with our own data. So we did a lot of statistical analysis. We used a data analysis from I can't remember the exact data analysis data that we got it from. I think it was the child uh yeah, I can't remember the name on top of my head, but we got the statistic analysis and we ran the numbers ourselves. And so basically we supplemented our own data with what I gathered from other people, and that's how we made our paper.
How did you feel when it became a published piece? Like, how were you notified about that?
Yeah, so the Journal of Eating Disorders notified. So we finished the whole process kind of like I would say like early August or late August. We finished the paper completely, and um uh we submitted it for review, and we got notified like around October-ish that it was going to be published, but we just had to make revisions. So that's when we got the notification. I was really happy and really odd to see like my name right next to all these different medical students and professors. So that was really exciting. And then it finally got published like around December. Yeah.
Okay. And so you said you did the literature portion of
Yeah.
that. Can you
Yeah.
explain what that is for maybe some people in the audience who don't really know much about research papers? What does that mean? Literature review.
Yeah. So literature review is basically kind of summarizing what the entire research summarizing all the research that is basically out there about the specific topic that you're looking at. So we were looking at how adverse childhood experiences can affect binge eating, can have effects on binge eating disorder in people over time. So basically I had to find like every single article out there, well, not really every single article because obviously it's going to be holes, but basically the main consensus about it and report it in our paper. So basically the process is you go out and you search through Google Scholar, you search through PubMed, you use like those specific words like ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, binge eating disorder, and they'll show up all the articles. You read it, you summarize their points, and that's how you kind of have the literature review section of a paper.
I want to ask one more about the literature review. What was like the most interesting information that you pulled from the literature?
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things that I found. I think it was really interesting to see how like um different different people were all people were kind of affected by this similar things, how we kind of saw how said like childhood abuse and like how um neglect or like adverse childhood experiences, how certain of them really did have an effect on binge eating disorder. You kind of think of like, I think a lot of people kind of have that prejudiced mind view like, oh, eating disorders are, only affected by kind of notion that, oh, I'm not skinny enough, or oh, I don't meet society's beauty standards. But actually you have like mental health issues that really are affected sometimes by precursors of what happened in your life, and it all has a culminating effect to influence like your the state of your mental health right now. So I think that was something that really opened my eye and made me see like the eating disorder epidemic in a different light.
Interesting. So, do you think that or how big of a role do you think that mind over body plays into that overcoming binge eating?
Mm, well, I can't give like a specific like, oh, percentage wise, but I think it has a bigger effect than we think. Because I think a lot of people, especially when they're going through their eating disorder, they have this thing like, I can control it, or this thing is a matter of like how much self-control I have. They think like it's a me problem, but actually like your body and your mind are so intertwined that like you can push yourself to such a limit, but it's not about self-control. It's by some time your body and your mind are going to work together to try to stop you, and it's not about like how much willpower you have. So yeah.
Interesting. So from your personal experience or just your own opinion, how do you think someone can kind of reduce that feeling or relieve themselves, like help themselves during like that binge eating process or disorder?
Yeah, I can't say too much on that because I've never gone through binge eating disorder, but um what I do know is that one of the best advices I could say is always don't be ashamed to acknowledge that you have a problem, because I think one of the biggest things that took me a long time to get recovery was the fact that I was so ashamed to admit that I had an eating disorder. Because like I know that now, like after years of having experienced it, I think it's so weird that I was ashamed of it. But I remember at the time I was so scared to tell anyone that I had a problem with my body and that I was struggling. So I think one of the biggest things, if you're going through a binge eating disorder, one, don't be afraid to be open about it. Because I know that the people around you, hopefully you're in an environment where the people around you are accepting of that. And two, once you are accepting of that, don't be scared to ask for help, get treatment, etc., etc. So that's what advice I would have.
Right. And I can see that message being pushed a lot in your organization for you. Do you think that is like the main, like, what would you say is like the main message that your organization wants to push?
I think so. Our motto is empowering youth of all races, sexualities, backgrounds, diversities, etc. Empowering all youth to have the self-confidence to love themselves for who they are. So that is really just our main message.
And what do you hope for your organization in like the next 3 years or so?
So right now, going into college, I'm still like not sure how I want to presume with the organization, because while it is an international body, our main focus was at high school students and looking to high schoolers. So as of this point, I'm not sure whether I want to continue with it or despond it and build up something um, that's even more related, or build up something even more stronger. So I am currently at like a crossroads end on it right now, but I definitely think that like eating disorder prevention and eating disorder awareness is going to be a huge part of what I advocate myself for in college and outside of college.
So I want to ask more about like your passion about that drive factor because you seem to have really a huge amount of passion for this topic. Well, I want to know who or what inspires you the most.
Hmm. I would have to say Professor Bryn Austin. So she is the director of Harvard Striped, which is a public incubator at the Harvard Teach Chan School of Public Health. And she's kind of like the first person that really created this public enterprise that really starts creating legislation for eating disorder awareness. Like before her, no one was doing anything to legislate on eating disorders at all, but she created this public incubator at Harvard. And I reached out to her first and foremost, just to like, I just kind of at that point, I just wanted to like, learn more about it. I was thinking maybe I could shadow her and stuff like that. But actually, she was the person that pushed me in front of these huge crowds and told me that like my voice is valuable and my story had to be heard. And through her, I think I learned so much about, one, that youth voices are so powerful, and two, that like we can make a difference in this generation. So I think she is someone that really inspired me the most.
Right. And you talked about how she pushed you in front of crowds. And that reminded me of what you said about testifying at like 15, 16 years old. How did that
Yeah.
feel that we're doing that?
Yeah. I think it was definitely like not in my plan at like going into high school thinking I would ever be able to do that. But having the opportunity to do that, I was so proud of myself for one, but really awe-inspired too, but also three, really hopeful as well.
Well, I do have one final reflective question,
Mhm.
and after this, we can do closing remarks and everything. But it's kind of goes deeper into what we talked about earlier about giving advice to your peers and everything. But if you could go a little deeper into it, what piece of advice or words of encouragement would you give to other high school graduates that may not know what they want to do in their lives yet?
Yeah, I would say, going into like college, there's a lot of pressure, I guess. Even colleges say like, oh, we don't want to pressure you. You can always change your major when you get into college. But actually there is a pressure because um a lot of the questions and the essays they ask you is, oh, what do you want to do? What do you have a passion about, etc. I know that like for those people, I can't really say much because to be honest, I was never really in their shoes. I think very much in my senior year of high school, I already had a very strong understanding of what I wanted to do. But I also do know that I've talked to a lot of people who are going to college in high school, Columbia, or anywhere that are undecided or have declared undecided. And like I would just say that it's not bad to, or it's not, I think there's a lot of stigmatization on like not knowing what to do, but it's not scary or bad to go into college not knowing what you're to do, because college is definitely a place where you can find what it is that you want to do. And yeah, I guess that's what I would say.
It was a pleasure meeting you today. It was great getting to know a little bit more about you, more about your organization. And if you have any closing remarks, well, now's the time to talk about them or feel like basically another overview of like what you do. You can shout yourself out, where people can find you, how they can support your organization and everything. And yeah, you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so I know the series is all about like graduating and moving on to next chapters in life. So all of you guys who are listening, I think like know that I'm in your exact shoes, and I'm scared for this next chapter, but I'm also really excited. So I think you should definitely be acknowledging that whatever you're feeling, I'm feeling, and a lot of other people are feeling too. I hope that like wherever you're going, you guys are happy about it. And I also would say that like going into college is definitely a time where you can learn about yourself and learn about what you want to do. So don't feel scared if you don't know just yet. But if you do know, I do hope that you can use all the resources there to help yourself and learn more about what you love. And a lasting remark, I still don't know exactly what I'm going to do with my organization for you, whether I'm going to continue it or move on to something even bigger. But if you do guys want to support, our Instagram is for.u_official, and you guys can give us a follow. And thank you guys so much for having me today.
Yeah, all of that information will be in the description or in the bio of the video. But it was great talking with you today, Kelsey. And I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much.